Are you buying or selling a home in Dalton, Georgia? The price tag isn't the whole story. Hidden costs at the closing table could hit your wallet hard if you're not prepared. I am Josselin Iraheta, realtor on the northwest side of Georgia. I serve Dalton among other cities. Book a calendar call with me in the description below. I look forward to hearing from you, chatting with you, and knowing how I can serve you in your goals. If you're buying or selling anytime soon, you will want to hear this. Today, we're diving deep into closing costs and what that implies. What are they? Who pays them, and all those little fees that you don't find out until closing day. And if you stay until the end, I'm breaking down a real life example of a home priced at $250,000. So you can see what buyers actually spend and what sellers walk away with after all fees are paid. Let's get into it. So starting with the buyer side, here's what you could expect to pay in a typical transaction in Dalton, Georgia. We all know the big famous down payment. A down payment is given for a couple of reasons. One is to show financial commitment. It proves to the seller that you're serious about the purchase and financially invested. It also helps reduce the lender risk. A down payment makes the loan amount smaller, which lowers the risk of the lender in case of default. It also meets the loan requirements here in Georgia. Most loan programs require a down payment. And another one is that it builds instant equity. Your down payment becomes your initial equity in the home. You own that portion from day one. Now, most people think that it has to be 20%, but that's not the case for most buyers. In Dalton, you could see a home being purchased with 3% down payment. I'm seeing many people purchase their home with a conventional loan. Some go or qualify for FHA, which is 3.5% down payment of the selling price of the home. And we even got USDA loans, which is 0% down. Some areas of Dalton do qualify for USDA loans. And if you qualify for a VA loan, you can also do 0%. Now comes loan origination fee. This is charged by your lender for processing the loan. And it's usually heavy on the usually between 0.5% to 1% of the loan amount. It covers reviewing your credit and application, verifying income and employment, underwriting and approval, and preparing final loan documents. Also, some lenders may reduce or waive the fee, but they may raise the interest rates. So always compare total costs. Don't just focus on no fees because they might be charging you higher somewhere else. Another closing cost is the appraisal fee. An appraisal is a professional of a property's market value, usually ordered by the lender during the home buying process. And this is needed to protect the lender's money to make sure that it is worth what they're asking or offering, to make sure the home is worth at least for what they're lending. Because if the buyer defaults, the lender needs to recover that money by selling the home. It also ensures the buyer that is not overpaying for that property. Conventional loans, FHA, VA, and USDA all require an appraisal, but you can skip it if you're not gonna get a mortgage. So if you're buying cash, you don't have to worry about these. Now, part of the home buying process is the home inspection, which is optional, but I highly recommend that you do get one. It is done to reveal hidden problems. Inspectors check the roof, HVAC system, foundation, plumbing, electrical, structure, appliances, and more. They're trained, the inspectors, to spot issues most buyers would miss. If problems are found, buyer can request the seller to fix them, or they can negotiate credits. And if they're not willing and it's some serious issues, I recommend that you walk away, unless you want to deal with that. Walk away if it's serious issues based on the inspection contingencies. And a home inspection is also done for peace of mind. Even if the home seems on great shape, it gives buyers confidence in what they're purchasing. Now let's talk about title search and title insurance. Here in Georgia, you are required to use a real estate attorney, and they review the public records to confirm the seller has legal ownership and can transfer a free and clear title of property. And even after a title search, problems can come after closing, like a forged signature, an unknown heir, or an old unpaid lien. And that's where title insurance comes in. It protects you financially if something was missed or is challenged later. And there are two types: lender's policy and owner's policy. A lender's policy is required if you do get a mortgage. It protects the lender. An owner's policy is optional, but it's smart if you get one because it protects you, the buyer. The buyer pays for the title search. It is a one-time payment at closing. Now, the attorney fees, which again, it's legally required in Georgia that a real estate attorney handles the transaction. In some other states, it's a title company. In Georgia, this licensed attorney oversees the entire closing process to ensure everything is legal, accurate, and fully executed. Buyers and sellers usually each pay their own closing attorney fees. Some attorneys offer flat rates and others vary, depends on the complexity of the transaction. So what's the matter about using an attorney, a real estate attorney for the transaction? For one, you're signing a document affecting hundreds of thousands of dollars. It should be to your best interest to have professionals involved. The attorney ensures that you're protected, that all funds are secure, and the title is legally transferred without risk. Now let's talk about the escrow prepaids. Escrow prepaids are upfront payments made at closing to cover ongoing homeownership costs. For example, property taxes, homeowners insurance, and mortgage insurance, if applicable. The lender collects these payments in advance and holds them in an escrow account, a special fund used to pay those bills on your behalf when they come due. And don't confuse prepaids with lender fees. They're not profit for anyone, just funds held to pay your bills later. Some of the reasons that prepaids are required is because they ensure that critical bills are paid on time. This is to avoid tax liens or policy lapses. Prepaids also protect your investment. Remember, your home is collateral for the loan. And prepaids also help you even out large annual expenses by collecting a little each month. You'll prepay a few months of homeowners insurance and property taxes, often 2 to 6 months worth. Now, there are some miscellaneous fees. A survey, if it's required, which is a detailed map of the property that shows the exact legal boundaries, structure, features of the land. There are recording fees as well. Recording fees are charged by the county government to legally record documents related to the property transaction, which typically it will be the deed, which is transfer of ownership, and the mortgage or deed of trust, shows the lender's lien. These documents are added to the public records, ensuring the ownership change and loan are legally recognized. If the property you're purchasing is in an HOA, there will be an HOA setup or transfer fees, which could be charged quarterly, monthly, or annually. And the prices on those can vary greatly. Now, that's for the buyer. All-in closing costs in Dalton, Georgia for a buyer typically ranges from 2% to 5% of the sale price on top of your down payment. Now, let's look at the seller side. And here comes usually what is the biggest expense, which is the real estate commission paid to the realtors. And with the recent NAR changes made last year, you sellers are not obligated to offer a commission to the buyer's agent. You can still offer to pay the buyer's agent commission, especially if that helps to attract more offers and to market your property. But now is optional, not assumed. And the commission, one way you can view it is that it's an incentive for that agent to bring you their buyers. Don't look at it as an expense, because in the end, they'll be purchasing what you're selling. And it doesn't have to be on their terms. That's where the negotiation comes in. It's in the end your property and you decide for how much you let it go. Now, here comes attorney fees. Yep, you sellers also have an attorney fee to pay. And remember, this isn't just paperwork. A mistake here could lead to title issues, funding delays, or even lawsuits down the road. Having a qualified real estate attorney on your side, it ensures a smooth, legal, solid closing. It is required by Georgia to have a real estate attorney to oversee the whole closing process. And then you also, seller, will have to pay transfer taxes, sometimes called deed taxes or conveyance taxes. Those are charged by the state or county when property ownership changes hands. In Georgia, the state charges 1 per 1,000 in sale price, usually paid by the seller, but this also can be negotiated. Now here comes the title clearing fees. In Georgia, especially here in Dalton, the buyer typically pays for the title insurance and title search, but if there's a title problem that needs fixing, that cost usually falls on the seller because it's their job to deliver a free and clear title. So if the attorney finds an unpaid mortgage, a lien, or an ownership issue, it's on the seller to fix before closing. The amount varies, and this is a title clearing fee. Now let's talk about the inspection a little bit. What if something does come up that needs to be repaired? You might agree to cover those repairs or to fix them. And one way you can cover their repairs is by giving sellers concessions. And those are when the seller agrees to pay some of the buyer's closing costs or other fees to help sweeten the deal and get the home sold. That could be a few hundreds or a few thousands. However, this is the max a seller can contribute if the buyer is using a lender based on the loan type. So a buyer cannot demand a seller to cover the whole closing costs because legally it is not how it works. Now let's talk about mortgage payoff and prorated items. You'll pay off your mortgage if you own any at the closing table, plus a portion of any prorated taxes or HOA's dues. These are usually calculated by the attorney. Prorated taxes are the portion of the annual property taxes that are split between the buyer and seller based on how long each party owned the home during the calendar year. The seller pays their share of the taxes up until closing day, and the buyer pays the rest for the remainder of the year. This ensures fairness. Each party pays taxes for the time they actually own the home. Now let's break down a real world example. And this is just an example how things could go if you change one thing the slightest, the amount of the closing cost changes. So remember, this is just an example of how a typical transaction could go in Dalton, Georgia. So this is a real world example for a $250,000 home. Assuming the buyer had a conventional loan, the down payment would be 3%, loan origination fee $2,000, estimated at 8% of the loan amount. The appraisal fee $500. Again, this could vary. I remember when I purchased my home, it was $800. And there are even some lenders that would do special promotions or programs for using them. And one that I've seen is that if you use them, they'll waive the appraisal fee if you close with them. The home inspection $450, again, is optional, but it's very smart if you do one. The title search insurance $800, and remember the buyer typically pays. Attorney fee $850, and real estate attorney is required in Georgia. Escrow Pre-paids $1,200, taxes, insurance, reverses, recording fees $200, paid to the county clerk. Total buyer cost $13,500. Upfront cost including down payment and fees. So that's for the buyer. Now let's look at the seller side. The agent commission, assuming that the seller wanted to do 3 and 3, it will be $15,000. The split between the listing agent and buyer's agent. The attorney fee $900. That's the seller side of closing. Transfer tax in Georgia $250. Remember that right now is $1 per 1,000 of sale price. Repairs and concessions, assuming there was some, he wanted to give $1,000 towards credit or negotiated buyer repairs. Title clearing, If anything, it could be from 0 to 1,000 or more. Not always applicable. It depends on case by case. The total seller cost is $17,150. Obviously, as you know, that could vary. And if you own the home, you walk away with $232,850, which is great. But remember, this is just an example of things. If you change one thing, things can go so differently. And my tips for you, it's to negotiate. You can negotiate the cost shares. Buyers compare lenders. Once again, don't just go for the big words, no fees. Check the total cost that it'll be if you work with that specific lender. You can also bundle services. Some title attorneys do offer that. You can also ask about local grant programs or seller's assistance. And phew, that was a lot. But now you know the real numbers when it comes to buying or selling a home in Dalton, Georgia. If you're planning to make a move, I'd love to help you on your situation, whether you're buying, selling, relocating into the area, you're a buyer looking to budget, or a seller curious for what your house would sell for on the open market. Book a Calendly call with me in the description below. I am Josselin Iraheta with eXp Realty, serving Dalton and surrounding areas. Thank you for watching this video, and please share it with someone who you think might benefit from watching it.